are live, John.
All right. We're having our annual meeting of the Redevelopment Board, the TIF Commission, and we'll start out, if you don't mind, we have Reverend Gwaltney with us today, if you'd like to say a little sermon, sir, before we start.
Father, we're grateful for the privilege of prayer, that we can come to your throne of mercy. We come today leaning on your wisdom and understanding. I thank you for Scott County, our great community. I thank you for these that are here today that serve our county. We're thankful, Lord, that we can look unto you and realize that you can guide us and bring answers to our community, bring answers to the families. So, Father, we just pray today that you would guide this meeting and all that is done on behalf of Scott County. We just ask your blessing, and we seek it in the blessing in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Now to the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend.
It's battery's dead. It's mine is too.
Like I say, we'll start out here. Roll call. We have Iva's here, I'm here, Scott's here, Diane Mullins couldn't make it today, and Carl's on the phone. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Carl Stout's on the phone. But we have a quorum, so we can have a meeting. We'll start out, and I think Tammy can take care of this one. Annual meeting for 2022 budget and TIF impact.
Well, sorry that your confidence is misplaced, John, but it's really Jason Simler supposed to be here. I'm expecting him any moment, so if we want to go ahead and attend to some other items, and hopefully he'll show, because he's supposed to be at 5 o'clock as well. So if he doesn't show up here in the next few minutes, I'll be trying to find him, okay, and see where he's at, because he could be stuck in traffic or something, because he does commute from Indy down, so.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have electronic meeting participation policy adoption. And would you want to explain that, or would our attorney like to explain the electronic meeting participation policy adoption?
I can talk about it.
Would you please?
Do you have a copy of the?
I do.
So, as part of Senate Bill 5, I think, this passed, as of July 1st, the legislature has adopted essentially a meeting policy that will allow people who sit on public boards to participate in meetings such as we've been doing during COVID. So it essentially replaced some of the provisions in the executive orders, but now it's part of a legislative act, and you can continue doing this even during non-emergent times, but there are specific limitations and prohibitions to what you can do in a meeting. So there's certain types of subject matter that you cannot have someone participating via electronic communication during a meeting. Like, so I'll go into, you can't adopt a budget, you can't make a reduction in personnel, you can't initiate a referendum, impose or increase a fee, impose or increase a penalty, exercise any of the county's powers of eminent domain, or establish, impose, raise, or renew a tax. So if any of those things are on an agenda for a public meeting, if someone is participating via electronic communication, they cannot be counted for purposes of establishing a quorum or for voting. And by electronic communication, this act specifically says that they have to be able to be viewed and seen, and to see who is here. So two-way participation. So a phone call would not be sufficient to be counted for any of these. The commissioners have already adopted kind of a county-wide policy, but that is in the hopes that each of the individual boards will go in and review the same and consider it for themselves. There are limitations on the amount of members per meeting that must be physically present. So you must have at least 50% must be physically present in the meeting. Not more than 50% can participate via electronic means. And you can't attend more than 50% of your meetings yearly. I'm not sure how often redevelopment meets, but yearly you cannot participate more than 50% of the time via electronic means. So and leading up to the meeting, because only less than half of you can show up or have to be here, more than half of you have to be here, you'll have to communicate probably with, I guess, John, you're the presiding officer, so you'd have to let him know who is going to be physically present, who is not going to be, so that you can determine whether or not any one person would be eligible to not be at that meeting. And you're all, whoever takes the minutes will have to record who's physically present, who's not physically present, and the votes will all have to be done via roll call voting. So you cannot do like all those in favor. She'll have to call individually if there is somebody participating via electronic means. These requirements are suspended if we're in an emergency situation, which right now I just looked, the governor has renewed the executive order for this next month to September 30th. So technically we're still in an emergency situation. But again, you would still have to be, it's a little more restrictive than the executive orders previously where people were doing kind of phone calls and things. You're still going to have to be seen or heard in those situations. It just would suspend the requirements for 50% participation at a physically present at a meeting. Yeah, so anybody have
So the
questions or anything?
phone calls are out. No
Phone
more
calls
will
are-
have to do
No,
video.
they're still in,
They
as
can't
long
vote.
as we've got a quorum.
As long as you have a quorum, they can be there on a phone call, but they cannot be counted as a
They
part of
can't
the
vote.
quorum, and they
Right.
cannot vote.
But
So that's an important piece, because certain actions by statute require a majority of the membership of the
Yeah.
board. So, for instance, for the commissioners, if they had one member that was participating via Zoom, and they had, or participating via phone call, and they had two members physically present, technically they had a quorum, but if the action they're taking usually is always going to require a majority. If one votes no and one votes yes, nothing happens. There's no action taken. So it's important just to remember, because there can be some like procedural issues that can pop up. So,
we're in the process of putting a TV in here somewhere. I think you knew that,
Yes.
so that will help somewhat. Commissioners voted this in.
yes,
Does that automatically go for everybody, or does everybody have
the
to adopt
commissioners
it?
made it applicable to all bodies
Yeah.
in the county.
Yeah.
But I think, just from my perspective, it's a good idea for each board to go
Okay.
in and approve its own, because the statute does say that the governing body shall adopt some type of policy. I think this is the policy that everyone's working for, because it's taken directly from the statute, and it's fairly similar to policies adopted around the state by commissioners, city
Yeah.
councils, yeah. So,
Okay. You've been a big help, sir.
that's
Thank
all I
you.
have.
Thank you. So, if we're gonna adopt that policy, we just need to make a motion to adopt this. Do I need to read it or anything?
No, you just need to make a motion at this point. The
Uh,
ordinance is effective.
I need a motion to adopt our new, electronic participation policy. And he just read the rules. We'll be adopting exactly what it says, which is on that paper.
Motion to adopt.
I have made a motion to adopt, second by Scott. I'll make that unanimous. Did you hear that, Carl?
No, there's a lot of pause and hesitations in that. And
What we're doing,
what's going on there, but,
okay, what we're doing is adopting an electronic meeting participation policy. And our attorney kinda read the rules on it, and I have made the motion to pass for doing this, seconded by Scott, and I'm making them unanimous. And I think in your case, you just maybe need to be aware of it.
Right.
yes, that's true.
All right, okay, just wanted you to know. So that-
Okay, thanks.
That passes. Unanimous with the people that's here.
An update on your annual meeting, it'll happen at 3:30, because Jason had written down 3:30 on the calendar instead of
Oh,
3.
okay.
So he'll be here any minute, so
So-
we're good.
Okay,
One piece I forgot, one of the important rules is one person cannot attend 3 meetings in a row via electronic means. So
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
you can do a maximum of 2, and the board can't prohibit somebody from doing 2 in a row. But that third meeting, that person would not be able to be counted if they were again present
okay.
via electronic means.
I can't hear the attorney at all.
I'm sorry.
Okay, it's our attorney and he's standing in the back of the room, so.
It's on the page.
Well, you know, I can't hear him, I just wanted to let you know.
That's okay, Carl. What he basically gave us is a little more information about the policy, and he said nobody can be absent for 3 meetings. Or in other words, you can't do a electronic vote more than twice. If you do it 3 times,
Consecutive.
yeah, you can't do that. Okay, did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll move on to there, and I assume that's all in the paperwork. So that'll be our policy for here on in, and I think it's the county policy and also state law now, so we're abiding by all that. Discussion on future projects. I'll start out with the fire departments. That's always kind of been my, well, I've both kind of involved. I think the past board's done this before. We try to always help our fire departments out, all the township fire departments. Rob's here to, maybe you need to know that. So last year we gave $10,000 apiece to each department. And my thoughts are that I'd like to do that again to each township fire department, which would be Vienna, Lexington, Johnson, Jennings, and Finley. And there's a process of that. We don't give them a check. They have to come in and give the project what they want, and they have to show their needs and everything, and it'll go through the auditor's office. And I don't think they even pay the bills. The auditor will pay the bills, but we just work with them up to $10,000 to help each fire department. I know 2 departments last year bought, what do you call those, Robbie? Those big vests or fire protection vests, is that what they're called?
Yeah, year, fire year.
And if I remember right, they were like $2,500 a piece, which would have been extremely difficult for the fire departments to buy these. But it protects it protects the fire officers. And I think, do you know what Austin did with theirs, Jennings?
I don't.
Okay.
It went in their building.
In their building thing. Vienna, we helped pave their whole parking lot, and and I think Finley had a complete engine they had overall on one of their fire trucks.
They're working, they're having difficulty getting the parts, like
Yeah.
like a lot of other supplies. Jim Mood actually contacted me this morning.
Good.
And so he was in hopes that, he said they're having a fire department meeting tonight, and he said, I know I'll get asked, are those funds still available? And I said, well, they encumbered your engine repair, and they also reallocated the $7,200 that you did not spend in 20. So he was all excited that you guys had done that, and it was still there, so we were on hold with that one.
Well, I think when people move to our community, one of the first things they want to know is do they have, are they going to be safe in their homes? Is their fire departments equipped? Are they ready to go? And I think we've got some good fire departments, and it's our part to make them better and safer. We want our guys to all come home at night, their families. So
Now, do we have money already appropriated? We can take this out of this year?
I would need to advertise this,
Okay.
because we've set up those line items
Right.
for all these projects, and then obviously there's what was appropriated left from 2020, reappropriated, so to speak.
Mhm.
And then you guys would need to appropriate more into those line items.
Yeah.
But have not been advertised. That's why I'm getting all your suggestions and what you would want to approve at your next meeting that you set, so
Okay.
I can advertise once and
Okay.
one and
Okay.
done,
Get
we
it
hope.
done.
So,
Hi.
so tonight we need to just lay our projects out, and then
Tell me the dollar amounts and
the
I'll put
dollar
the pay
amount, and then we'll have to advertise and go that route. Jason will probably have some information how to do things and not do things, maybe.
Well, he might be able to assist us, but we probably would lean on Karen Arlen probably a little bit more as far as like whether it fit the plan or didn't fit the plan. Is that correct, Jason?
For the TIF area?
Yes.
Yeah, and when you created your plan, you would have listed, or provided a list of projects that you
Okay.
fund with TIF, so yeah.
For, just the sake of people on the video here, would you mind telling your name and who you're with?
Sure.
What you do for us?
Sure. Jason Simler with Baker Tilly, and sort of the financial advisor for the Redevelopment Commission.
Okay. He keeps us, and our attorney keeps us from doing things maybe we could make mistakes on, we could all pay for later dearly if we don't do it right, so thank you for being here.
So we're going to do the fire departments for 50,000 then?
It'd be 5 fire departments, 10,000 apiece is the way we did it. That'd be 50,000.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
5 or 4.
Oh, we don't,
Well, you got,
we don't do Scottsburg.
They're
They're in the city.
well, no, I never said that. I just said the
Oh.
townships.
So it's at 4.
Township fire departments, which is Vienna, Lexington, Johnson, and Jennings, and Finley, it's
Finley,
5.
so it is 5,
Finley'd be
okay.
5, yeah.
Okay.
See, I think why I'm getting confused is because Jimmy's got theirs in the building.
So, that would, do we need a motion to do that then, or just discuss it first? I think we've been discussing it.
You can just ask me to advertise it.
Advertise it. and
That's-
we can
you don't have to
act on
even
it the
move on
next
it.
time.
Okay, that's
Yes.
what I want you to do, if
Yeah.
everybody's in agreement, to advertise $10,000 apiece for 5 fire departments.
Okay, and that's capital outlay.
Yes.
What about this county morgue? Has the commissioners done anything about
Well,
that
hang
yet?
on, we'll get to that in a second. Okay, yeah, that's a long story.
Oh, really? The dead issue?
It's about a year-long story, so.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Now, it's not on here, but I've also asked to advertise if we could help our sheriff's posse out, because they do search and rescue and help them with some of their equipment. And they're not as big as the fire departments, but I thought if possible, I'd like to throw 5,000 into those guys. Anybody got any concerns or differences of opinion with me on that one?
It's fine.
You okay with that? Okay. So I'd like that advertised too. Well, it says the county morgue, but why don't we go straight, well, we'll go to the county morgue. I was asking about the county morgue. There's a long history there, going back about a year. And there's even controversy over what's the best thing to do and not to do. The commissioners voted probably last year to look at the possibility of moving the morgue out to the hospital. And the reason for that being is this is the first year we've ever had a coroner who is also not a funeral home director. So we didn't have an office. And I thought that was all being taken care of, and I was wrong. First of the year, I thought we had that all taken care of. It's not. So we, at some time in the past, I don't remember the exact dates, this board authorized $30,000 to set up the morgue out at the hospital. And actually, I'm disappointed in this, but they've come back and said they need 15 more to set it up. I think we're getting everything from construction to engineers to,
State permits.
I'm sorry,
State permits.
state permits, and
Furniture,
whatever they need. Well, we've got some of the stuff already there,
okay.
but it's, we're kind of under the gun on this one. It's very difficult. I couldn't swear by the law, our attorney probably could, but the law probably says we gotta give him an office, I would say. Common sense would say that. Yeah,
Commissioners are actually charged with that duty.
yeah, and that's what I thought, but they went to the council before of money on this, and there's always a little controversy over whether it ought to be at the hospital. A lot of people would rather have it on their own property out at the John Jones building, the health department building. But we've never really got solid information out what it would cost to do that. Actually, the information I have got would be extremely expensive to move stuff out there. We had looked at moving the extension office out there at one time, and just to move the one office was $225,000 estimated. So we're talking probably $45,000 total here. And I'm aggravated that we even have to come back and discuss this. I thought it was taken care of, but it is in our lap and we have to deal with it.
Commissioners don't have any money in the budget?
I'm sure we could probably look, council would have to deal with this if you guys didn't want it. If you gave your 30 and said that's all we're interested in.
We can do what we
giving,
want, yeah.
Or if you wanted, whatever your board chooses to do. But I mean, if you guys don't want to advertise for the appropriation, then we'll throw it on council's lap and see what they can come up with.
Yeah.
I would advertise it, and then if they don't have any available monies.
Well, let me ask you this. If we authorize you to advertise it, it's done deal then?
No.
Okay, so I mean, we could always back up on this if we wanted
Discuss it, take a
to.
vote on it.
And I would like to go ahead and do it. And the reason being is, we gotta get them an office. These guys are operating out of the trunk of the car.
Right.
And probably one of the most important offices, they don't get the credit they deserve, but they're out here making decisions that are, very important to our lawyers, our not lawyers, our prosecutors, and law enforcement and things like that. And, I would like to advertise, and if we could get the council to do it, that'd be fine too. And this is one thing I'm not happy about, but my biggest concern is getting these guys in office. And I'm not really happy about the route we're going, but I still believe, even though it's took 8 months now, I still believe it's probably our quickest option to get them in an office.
Well, if the money's already appropriated somewhere in the commissioner's budget, they would just have to transfer
Well,
it
we
and
don't have
spend
money
it.
appropriated for this. We have
No,
money.
right, it's like
Yeah.
in professional services, but you
Yeah.
could create another line item and move it into it
Yeah.
and spend it. It's already there, wouldn't have to advertise it.
We can
But do both,
do it
advertise and then look.
look.
Now, wait a
So
minute,
we can advertise it, and that just opens the door for you guys to consider.
advertise this,
Yeah.
and then we can still.
Then the council can discuss it too.
Yeah.
And if they can find the money faster than you guys can
Okay.
approve it, get it done and move on, we
Yeah.
can do that. So if it's probably you guys, what I'm hearing from you guys is, if it's a hardship for the council or the general fund budget or whatever to come up with the funds, then you all would consider it. Since we're advertised, then you can consider it.
Okay,
How's that?
are we okay with that? We
Yes.
advertise it, doesn't necessarily
I
mean.
would
we're gonna
almost
do it.
think when there be funds for COVID or something like that even, maybe.
I don't, well,
I mean,
it may, I don't know.
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there that it's a thought that, you know, that, at first I thought that's kind of where this was maybe headed because of, you
Yeah,
know, because there has been deaths and there has been, you know, in New York and places, they were using refrigerator trucks and stuff like that to,
I think that's a good question, but usually especially, I mean, I think the ARP funds specifically, you have to be able to tie the expense to an unusual circumstance caused by COVID. This office will have to exist whether COVID was here or not.
Right.
So I think there's some expenses relative to that office that would probably definitely be covered. Whether you could in fact use money from ARC or CARES to build an office, I think is probably a different standard.
okay,
But
that,
they could probably ask for money if there was more body bags
think you did.
needed and
Correct.
stuff like that.
More space needed on an
Yes.
existing office.
Yes.
Yeah.
To cope with
okay,
COVID.
I just
Yeah.
was thinking
that'd be
that,
nice,
you know, that there might be funds some way that would
Mhm.
incorporate that
Yeah.
direction, so.
I think you're exactly right. I mean, I know I'm talking to the council about this later tonight, but that's, you need to tie it to COVID, and whether it's, you know, mitigating future risk. If you can, you know, use the buzzwords and kind of justify it and document, but I think that's key, is, you know, whether it's either, you know, dealing with existing COVID or prior COVID conditions, or trying to prevent future pandemics, you can tie it to that. It might be able to be all justified use ARP funds for, but you're exactly right. The key thing is trying to justify it, and that's something we can, you know, work with attorneys on in council, but just that if the county ever gets audited, you know, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years from now, when we're all not here, but we have
That's
something
okay.
in the file that says, yes, we thought this project was eligible for these reasons. And we can try to go through the treasury and the questions and answers and try to justify it for you. So I don't know if the answer is quite no, but we might have to just be able to justify it and say with a straight face it's related.
Well, and the reason I want it on here tonight is, it's just simple as this, that whether we go this fund or that fund, still county money. And I'm doing it so we can get something done. I mean, it's been 8 months, for goodness sake, we gotta get them guys in office. And the last meeting, I said, can we not have this done by the first of the year? And I'm not sure if we can or not. That's a little frightening to me. So I'm looking for better options. I'm not sure I found one.
Because I think this idea started like a year ago,
It
last
did.
January.
Well, I don't remember the date, but it was a year ago, yeah.
Well, the first of the year in 2020.
It was being discussed last year, I don't
Yeah,
remember the date.
it was before the election.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, it was last year. So, but anyway, that's my proposal, at least get it advertised so we can have it available and we can go whatever route we want from there. And what you're talking about, I'd be for that too. I got a feeling it would take longer. I don't know that. You guys might understand that better than I do.
And what helped me a little bit, which I've not sat down to study each line item, because I was pressed on the 8/31 deadline, which Jason will be glad I got that filed when I got my submitted thing, so we're good there. But it really lined out specific expenses, a lot of categories. I think that report's gonna help me with some of the language there, where I put zeros in, because we've not expended one dime.
Mhm.
And we've not also done our, loss.
Revenue calculation?
Yes, we have not done that either. But we have, got really specific expenditure lines that you're gonna have to categorize what you do. So those categories are gonna be very, and there's probably what, 40 or 50 of them, maybe? It's huge. So broken down into sections. So that will further help drive what you guys can categorize as a bona fide expense. Because now I'm kind of looking at it backwards, what are they gonna accept? And so I'm now looking at these lines, and I know things can change, and time and the use of the funds, and I hope they kind of change their path this next allocation. Because hopefully they can get us to target half of our money towards this type of stuff, and then maybe the next half they give us, they'll broaden the scope a little bit, or maybe even change, maybe. It's hard to say, but.
Yeah, that revenue loss calculation, you're not required to do it, but what that basically does is they are allowing you to look at 2019 and then kind of do a projection of what you thought you were gonna collect in 2020, and then compare that to what you actually collected. And if you collected less than that calculation, that's a revenue loss. And let's just say we do the calculation and it comes up with $1 million loss. Then basically you can move any legal expense, just about, except for like debt and pension, but most expenses that the county would have, you could pay that out of your ARP funds rather than like your general fund or your income tax fund. And it doesn't have to meet one of those line items, so it's more flexible. So we're encouraging communities to do that calculation, because then if you do come up with a loss, that could pay for this project, even though we may or may not think it would, qualify under the our guidelines. But we've done a handful of counties. Some showed zero loss, some showed a couple $1 million. So it's all over the place, whether there's actual loss or not.
So what, we'll just go ahead and advertise that then,
Advertise
okay?
it,
We need to
okay.
vote on that, or is that?
No,
Okay,
just-
all right. While you're here, Jason, we bypassed you totally when it came to an annual meeting of our 220.
Yeah, I apologize. I misunderstood. I thought the meeting was at 3:30, so
You're good.
that was my bad.
Would you like to, is this his spot to talk now, or you wanna
Do
go
you
to
want-
refuge first?
Just do the refuge if you don't mind,
Okay.
that would work out better, and then we'll just concentrate then on what Jason has to say, how's that, without delaying Steve?
Reverend Gwaltney, you're up.
If you don't mind, John, I'll just take a chair here,
You do what, anywhere you want.
just move to the side.
We'll try to keep our little 6-foot difference here.
John,
I don't like to
give me that extra
put
pen.
my
Mine
back
don't hardly
anymore, but I
write.
can't be looking both ways.
I got an extra one if you need one.
I want to give you all the option. Al Regal has been doing our presentations, and before me is his presentation, and I can do that for you if you like. It's in detail. I don't know if you want me to go through this, but it'll bring you up to speed. So,
We'll give us what you think's necessary.
okay. Well, I want to pass these out. This is our latest brochure.
Thanks, sir.
Pass one down to Tammy there.
Wait a minute, I got left out there.
You got left out, uh-oh. I'll leave John out.
Take his
I got
way.
yours.
This is the first brochure, which kind of explains the background of
I
the
think I've got
project.
one. Yeah.
You got one of
Yeah, I
those?
think so.
Ivy, do you have one of these?
I have one at home.
Okay. Tammy, you want one of these?
I have one in my
Okay.
files, thank you.
Well, I can read through this, it'll take a few minutes, but that way you get all the background. And I wish Al could have been here today, but, you know, Al's involved in a lot of school programs.
Al Riggle.
Al Regal, yes, Al Regal, and he's at Lexington School today making a presentation. So again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and be here today. I've spoke with you before, but I'm thankful for this opportunity to come back and get to speak with you. I want to thank you for your support of the refuge. Last year, when we were presenting to you, we were trying to raise money for the refuge building. And thanks to your generosity and the generosity of individuals, civic organizations, service organizations, churches, community leaders, and county government, I'm humbled to come before you today and tell you the refuge will be finished in the next 2 or 3 months.
Great.
And to give you an update of this incredible effort to serve the kids in Scott County. Last time we talked about why we needed a refuge. The data hasn't changed much. The number of children in Scott County removed from harmful home situations due to substance abuse and domestic violence continues to rise. The number of foster parents, family members, and friends willing to provide a stable, nurturing home is inadequate. This results in many of these children, over 40%, being moved out of the county, compounding the trauma they have already faced by having to leave their schools and losing their friends. In southern Indiana, including Scott County, out-of-home placements escalated from 470 children in 2014 to 779 children in 2020. In 2020, Scott County had 210 children in out-of-home placements. These are our children. They're Scott County children. It's our most valuable resource in Scott County. The children we focused on are the most vulnerable children who are in very difficult situations that they didn't cause. We're building the refuge and other facilities as needed to meet the immediate needs of these children and find a proper placement for them. We're going to open up this emergency children's shelter in order to provide a stable, loving environment for children in our community who are temporarily displaced from unsafe home environments. Locally, children are frequently faced with multiple short-term placements until a long-term placement in foster care can be found. These transfer experiences compound the trauma for children and remove them from a community with which they are familiar. We simply don't have the capacity in Scott County to care for these children. As we build that capacity, the refuge provides an emergency shelter to care for them until they can be placed in a final placement. While in our care, children will be provided the basic necessities and receive counseling, life skills training, resiliency development, and access to education with all service wrapped in trauma-informed care culture. Children will be assisted with transitioning to the best possible foster care placement. The goal is to lessen the negative impact of childhood trauma so that the children and youth in our community have a greater probability for success and positive lifelong outcomes. This effort started in 2016. Since then, $400,000 was raised to acquire the property, clear it, and prepare it for construction. We processed the building plans by Homeland Security, the Indiana Health Department, and a permit from the City of Austin. We have submitted our application for a license from DCS, and they have approved a representative to help us through the process. We hired Billy Snowden as our administrator. He and others are assisting in putting together our policies and application and are attending the required training and will work with DCS through the licensure process. We are requesting licensure to serve kids ages 6 and up, and our 10-bed facility with around-the-clock awake trained support staff on site. We have approved it. I have been approved as a 501c3 organization. The refuge has been incorporated under a board of directors. We have acquired a website. You can go on your phone and find that website, and we're working to continually develop that website. We have been assisted by Horizon Stewardship in helping us with the capital campaign. We want to thank you. You were involved in helping us raise $700,000 for the building. Morgan's Foods also donated $325,000. The rest came from churches, civic organizations, community organizations, city and county government, and boards like you. Donations continue to come in. In September 2020, we hosted a groundbreaking and blessing with the attendance of many of our community leaders and supporters. The next week, we broke ground. Lincoln Taylor was hired as our general contractor. Final interior work is going on, and we will soon have exterior work finished. Furniture and appliances are arriving. We're on track to complete the project and have a ribbon cutting this fall. We hope to accept the first child soon after. We're now focused on the annual campaign to raise the money needed to serve these children. We need to raise $450,000 for operation costs. I'll explain that more specifically in a few moments. To serve the children and our families until some of our reimbursements start coming in, which can be delayed from up to 8 months. We will receive a per diem for each child for each day they're in the facility. The refuge will have a Scott County focus. We've been released and instructed by DCS that we can focus first on Scott County children, with emergency beds, long-term beds, and private beds. Our first goal is to provide immediate trauma-informed care for displaced children. The long-term plan includes foster care placement, foster care parent support, youth and family enrichment services, and family reunification support. These are some of the things the board of the refuge is focused on as they've done their research on what the needs are in Scott County. This will improve support structure in Scott County to care for these children. So now I want to say what you could help us with, okay? So that's why I'm here. Here's what you could help us do. I want to go back and say thank you for what you did last year. Last year, what you awarded us was very well timed. At that time, we were in the process of starting the building and bringing it up out of the ground. Because of your award, we were able to focus on including a basement. And it was a challenge, and it took us a while to get all of that together and to get that basement good and dry. But I can take you today and walk you in about half of the facility has a basement under it. And it's going to provide a play area for the children. It's in like bad weather during the wintertime, and at other times as well where they can have recreation. It's also going to be a storm shelter. We have a storm come through. There will be a storm shelter. And you made that happen. This board that was so well timed last year. And I say thank you. You made a difference. About that same time, the city of Austin voted to give us an award. All of that together helped us put in place the infrastructure that we needed to build the building. What I'm asking you for today is that you would help us establish a portion of this $450,000 that I've mentioned. This is the campaign that we're in now. I can report to you that with every indication that we can determine, when we cut the ribbon and open the door, the building and the property will be fully paid for. There'll be no debt against the building, no debt against the property. What we need to do is secure the funds necessary to satisfy DCS that we have enough funds on deposit to operate for, like the first 6 months. I forget exactly what the term is, but we have to show them. If you will award us this year the same amount you awarded us last year, I will be able to tell them with the funds that we have now, yours added to it, that we have the funds in place to receive our license and open up the facility. That's the kind of impact you can have this year.
I got to tour the place here a few weeks ago, and I was very impressed with it. What you're gonna do, Mr. Snowden took me through. We took some of our group over at the lodge, Oddfellow Lodge, and toured it and see what you're doing. I think you are gonna make a difference here. It's my understanding is Austin's putting up some money right now, and I was told we were gonna match them.
Well, what they're doing is they are increasing their funds for infrastructure. So basically, by the time they get through helping us with the infrastructure that we're doing right now to finish the project, they will be at about $150,000.
Okay. And I was also told Scottsburg is helping. Is that-
No, I've got to talk.
We haven't got there yet.
No, but I'll tell them John sent me.
Actually, I called him yesterday, I wanted to talk to him about it, and I wasn't able to get through, so.
But I would think that they would want to help.
But I mean, this is gonna serve kids from the whole county, so
Yeah.
I think they should pitch in
Yeah.
something. Question, the kids that's put in here, say they displace one from Johnson Township. Is this kid gonna be transported to school in Johnson Township?
Yeah, both superintendents have already agreed that they're going to work with us on that.
Okay,
Snowden
great.
told me that too. He said the goal was to make them feel like they're still a part of the community.
Right,
And that's the big difference. Right now, for example, I thought about this because I served with the Scott County Community Foundation, and I found out that what it was costing CASA because the children had moved out of the county.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to keep some of that at home because the kids will be at home.
right.
And there's going to be a number of things that are going to happen to impact the cost factor.
And will all the kids be recommended by DCS, or is this something, or will be other options? I mean, will the courts be ordering some? Most of them probably won't, I don't know.
Well,
That's different options.
Judge Mount mentioned that to us in our first meeting, that there would be some provisions where children could be assigned to the refuge and not actually be going through DCS.
Okay.
The other aspect is when we went up for a meeting with DCS in Indianapolis, they let us know that we could have some private beds. It may mean that there would be some place there by school counselors when a family's going through a tragedy or the child is going through a time of trauma. So there are going to be different ways that we can use the facility other than just the DCS.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why our focus is to raise a budget of $450,000 so that we can do things beyond what we would be able to do just with DCS.
I think what I'm hearing you're asking here is for $100,000.
Well,
Correct?
I didn't know whether I'd said that specifically or not. You knew what you did last year, John.
Well, the reason I'm asking that, because I was under the impression it was gonna be asking for $60,000, because I thought that's what Austin was putting up.
Mm-hmm.
So just throw that out where we want, but, and I think, let me throw something else out too, just so we need to know where we're going. I think we're all with you on this. I don't think that's even a concern. The goal is, and I think you know where I'm gonna go with this, is it someday gonna be self-sufficient financially?
Well, that's what we are confident about, but you have to get it rolling. And it will not just be this 10-bed facility. DCS told us that if we were to get this first thing accomplished, they will help us do other things. The other things that we would do would create more income than operating this facility. This facility is a cost factor. But having the facility paid for, so there'll be no cost about that, that really empowers us to keep ourselves operating in the black. Also, as we have researched, we have one home, children's home, that does a good job and was recommended for us to visit by DCS. And when we visited them, when they changed some of the laws, they went into the red for just a short while. But they learned and got their homework together. And now they operate about, it's either 6 or 8 cottages in Lebanon, Indiana, and they operate in the black all the time. So that's encouragement.
That's what I want to hear.
Hmm?
That's what I want to hear.
That's what you want to do. Well, we're all concerned about that, and
Well,
our board is concerned about that.
Yeah, and we all are, and we want it to be self-sufficient, because as much as we're all behind it, we don't want to be the sole supporter. Or I'm speaking for myself on that, I should. So we're hoping for self-sufficiency, and I'm willing to help out whatever we gotta do. Well, I'll go back to what I said a minute ago. I was told 60,000, and if I'm correct, that would be, if I heard you right a minute ago, Austin's got about 150,000 in it. Is that right?
Well, they would have, at what they're already extended to do, they added some on since that meeting you referred to, okay? I went back to them, I guess it was last Wednesday, and they decided to help us take down the little bit of Virgil's office.
He was telling me that.
Yeah, so they're gonna add that on, and then they were gonna do some more paving there, but after we did the paving on the right side of the sidewalk, we think that we might not do any paving over on the left, and we'll just make that green space and beautify the building.
Well, the building's nice. I drove by it last night. I think you're making great progress here, and I think it's gonna be a success. So I'll just do my 2 bits out. You guys got anything you'd like to throw in on this? He's asking for 100 grand.
We can advertise it and discuss it.
Okay. Yeah, my thoughts were 60, to be honest with you, but I don't mind doing what we gotta do here. Any thoughts?
Say advertising, we'll talk about it.
Okay. We'll do that. How'd that be?
I think that's progress.
We'll advertise for 100,000, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you
That
have
doesn't
any other,
mean-
any other questions for me?
No, I want to make sure, I think you understand it, Laura. That doesn't mean you get the 100,000. That means it's
Oh, no, I
advertised, and
understand.
we'll see what happens from there.
Where's the trustee's office gonna be relocated to?
Virgil has agreed for us to move him across the street. So we're gonna take the west end of our community building, and we're gonna remodel that. We walked through it. He and Kim are pleased with it. So we're gonna take care of it.
Right across the street, he'll be happy.
Yeah, yeah. And we're gonna move all his stuff for him, and that's his challenge.
Reverend, thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it
You're
so
doing great
much.
things up there, you really are. And if it can help our children out, and actually, I think it helps keep money in Scott County, because a lot of these kids are going to some other counties right now, and we're paying the bills to some other county. So it'd be nice to keep it home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there's, you understand that, but there's a lot of explanation about how all of that flows. And the more that you can provide it close by, and the main thing is, it's better for the children.
Okay.
They can still be near their friends and near their school and things of that nature.
Yeah, you'd make them feel like they're still part of the program. I talked to your mayor yesterday, and I know he's behind you.
Yep.
He made that clear to me, so.
Well, you know, I need to say that, as a closing remark, this project is a Scott County project. This would not have happened if it had not become a Scott County project. And we understood that from the beginning. So it's not my project. It's not even the board's project. We're just directing. It's a Scott County project. It's everybody's been pushing and pulling together. And I think we've made great progress.
Like I said, I talked to your mayor, and he said, you gotta help the man out. That's what he told me. Said, "You
Well,
don't
I'm glad you're advertising for 100, I hope, okay?
Okay. We'll see what happens.
Now, here's what I can tell you,
Yeah.
what I'm saying, if the 100 comes through, that will mean with funds that we have in-house that are available, we will be able to let DCS know that we've got the funds that they require and that we're ready to go.
Okay.
All righty,
Thank you very much, sir.
thank you.
Appreciate you being here at the first meeting with us, too.
You ready for me to leave? Is that?
Well, you can go over.
You can stay.
We'd love you to stay.
I'm gonna stay a
We
while.
might need you for
I
this
wanna hear
meeting
what
over.
this gentleman has to say too, okay?
Okay, I think we are with you now, Jason. Annual meeting for 2022 budget and TIF impact. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Would you in the audience with some PowerPoint?
Sure.
Is there another meeting in here?
Yeah,
What time?
4.
You got 10 minutes. It'll be about
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Gotta talk fast, Jason.
Okay.
Jason said he'd make it short and sweet. Maybe.
Well, thanks for having me back again. As mentioned, this is the annual report for the Redevelopment Commission, which is required to have one each year by the overlapping tax units. So this is kind of meeting that state requirement. And you have two different reports in front of you. One is kind of a more detailed information, kind of how I came up with the background of the numbers, has a little information about the history of the areas when they were created, those kinds of things. And I tried to summarize that in the PowerPoint presentation. So in the past, I've just gone over the PowerPoint presentation, so if you're okay with that, I'll just do that again this year.
I'm okay with it.
And if you have any questions, feel free to stop me. But this first slide right here, this is kind of just, this is more for, I know you guys have gone through this a number of times, but this is kind of more for the audience, just to remind that, you know, that you've created 2 allocation areas now, TIF areas. And those allocation areas, when you create them, all the assessed value that's there when you first create the TIF area, all the taxes generated from that continues to flow through to the base to help fund the budgets of the county, the school, the township, and the library. And that's kind of this blue area. Then you create the allocation area, generate revenue, put that money back into the area to help it grow and flourish. And that new growth, that increase in assessed value is what you capture, and that's what you collect every 6 months from settlement and how you're able to fund the projects that you've been talking about. Then once the area ends, all that new assessed value that's been developed, that all flows through the tax base to help reduce tax rates and benefits the tax units and the taxpayers. So I'll kind of go through that a little bit more detail, but again, this is kind of just our big picture 101 of TIF. The way I kind of looked at this TIF, it's kind of like investing in your 401k. You know, you collect your revenue, you put it in your bank account, and you hope it grows. And then over time, when you need it, you have a lot more money there now than what you did when you were first collecting it and depositing it. That's kind of what I look at TIF as a long-term investment. So as I said, the county has 2 allocation areas or TIF areas. The first one, page 4, I'm sorry, talk about the Northern Scott County Economic Development Area, or Austin Tri-Hawk area is what I refer to it as.
Right.
You can see it was created there in 1998. It has a 30-year life, so by statute, it cannot go out longer than 2028. So at that time, all the assessed value that's out there, the building, the equipment, all that will be assessed and added to the tax base of the county, the township, the school, the library.
And there'll be no more money going into that TIF district at that time?
Correct. So as you're thinking about your projects and starting in 2029, there'll be no more revenue collected.
This board would continue till there's no money, is that how that would work?
Well, you do have another TIF area now.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we can still continue even if there's no money left, because, you know, you have your job is to kind of help encourage economic development growth throughout the county. So you can still meet and, you know, think about if there's other areas that's, I mean, worthwhile to create an allocation area.
If there's money left in that one, can it be rolled into the other one?
It can only be used for projects to be in serving or benefiting the Austin Tri-Hawk TIF area.
Okay.
So even though the area's ended and you're not collecting any more money, you can still keep it in that account and wait for projects to occur.
Okay.
So it's not like that the day the TIF area ends, you have to transfer all the money to somewhere else. You can still accumulate it and use it until it runs out.
Okay.
So you can see there at the bottom, working with Tammy in her office, we always check to make sure that what you collect is, what we estimated. So you can see in 2020, we estimated you collect $533,000, and that's what you collect. It tells me that the company's paying their taxes and paying them on time. In 2021, we're estimating you collect $642,000 this year. And then in 2022, next year, this is based upon 2021 tax rate, so it may change a little bit, but you can see we're anticipating that increase to almost $730,000. And a lot of that has to do with the abatements on the equipment that's out there. As those abatements roll off, that's why you're generating more tax increment each year.
So their abatements are ending?
Yes.
Yeah.
Page 5, you do have one bond that's outstanding. That was issued in 2014. About $1.4 million issued, about $789,000 outstanding. That matures in 2029, so we structured it so it ends the same time your TIF area ends. But those bonds are callable anytime, so if you wanted to pay them off early, you could. Page 6. This is just kind of an illustration. One of the requirements of the statute is you put together kind of a budget or cash flow. So this kind of meets that requirement. This just shows that, at the beginning of the year, you have about $1.3 million in your current account balance. Again, we're estimating $642,000 this year. You have your bond payment. It's about $112,000 a year. We kind of made the same assumptions we did last year. Just for illustration, we showed $400,000 of capital outlays. So as individuals and companies come and others boards come in front of you asking for funds for various projects, we'd allow a line item for that. We allow money for professional services. So it shows that if this illustrative budget comes to fruition, you still have about $14,000 remaining for the year. On top of what you already have, you have still $1.3 million left at the end of the year. It shows that you have a healthy balance, and that's going to continue growing, even allowing money to be spent for projects like you just discussed earlier today. So
Jason, I'm sorry.
No, it sounds like we're doing pretty well.
yeah, no, you have enough money to make your bond payments and put back into the community and the area. So it's doing what you intended. And it's helping, those bonds that were issued in 2014, that was an incentive for Austin Tryout to do their expansion here. We still have funds available that if they come to you, looking at either expanding here or another community, another state, you have the ability to offer them an incentive to try to keep them here and keep employees here, and not only retain what you have, but hopefully encourage them to expand and hire more.
We have talked to them about selling some property out there.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's really developed out there. There was negotiations for a little while, so that would have been. Do you also work for Scottsburg and Austin?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was curious. So you know where, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, and I've actually done this report for both of their boards already this year, so.
okay. Any questions?
So like January 2029, and let's just say we have $750,000 left in our TIF fund. So I'm gonna go back to Iva's question. And Trihawk comes to us and says, well, we've got an opportunity to do so-and-so. Would this board still be obviously able to say, okay, well, we can give you a couple $100,000 to
Right.
help you, develop and keep jobs here?
Yeah.
So that money can still, again, be used after the TIF revenue expires.
Right.
That money is still there and to be appropriated for the things in the plan.
Right.
All right.
Yes.
So then, in regards to new TIF areas that say we want to have 2 or 3 going, residential TIF, you've talked, Iva has alluded to that. I know a lot of places are starting to work with that. So if this board would scout out and find something, then we could obviously work with you guys and our attorney, and then
Just like you did
develop
for your
another
second area,
TIF
your
area. Okay.
your central Scott area that you just created last year
Okay.
is very similar. And let's say in 2029, Austin Tryout comes to you and says, hey, we're looking at buying property next door, and we're looking at expanding our facility. Even though that area's ended, you could create a brand new TIF area. Just everything that's there now would stay with the tax base, so anything above and beyond that, that would be new development that you could capture.
Okay.
That's right, definitely is a big benefit to our
Oh, big, big, big.
community. I think it's the second largest employee in the county.
Right.
Just added 30-something jobs, I think, that go along, so, yeah, we wanna help them.
So on page 7, I show kind of what the impact would be. This is based upon 2021 information, and I know I've gone through this in the past, so I won't go into great detail, but what this shows is, at the top, scenario 1, you know, after all the abatements roll off at about 2028, you'll be collecting about $1,032,000 in TIF. So you're collecting about $607,000 now. Once all the abatements wear off, you'll be collecting over $1 million. Now, once the TIF area ends, all that assessed value, you can see in that box there, that equates to about $40.5 million of assessed value. So the equipment and the building. Once the TIF area ends, you'll no longer be capturing that, but all that assessed value will be added to the tax base of the county, the school, the township. And when you increase your tax base, keeping everything else constant, that decreases your tax rate. So I show here that once the TIF area ends, keeping everything else constant in 2029, the tax rate for Jennings Township would go down about 40 cents. So it's a pretty big
It's
impact.
significant. Very
The-
Especially since we're building a new school.
Cool, yeah,
Yeah.
make them happy, yeah.
So some of the misconception is that $1 million of taxes, the TIF that you're collecting, once the TIF area ends, you pass through assessed value, the county gets more money, the school gets more money, and that's not the way it works. It's just, it adds to the tax base and reduces tax rates, which is still a positive thing, it helps reduce circuit breaker losses. But it's not like the school's gonna get, or the county's gonna get this big pot of money all of a sudden, it's just gonna reduce their tax rate.
Right.
Any questions on the Northern Scott County area? And then the last page is just the brand new TIF area that you created last year, the Central Scott area where we designated Jackson and Connect to capture the utility property that they're investing. So 2022 will be the first year that you can collect. So we're expecting about $3,000 in revenue this year, but hopefully that grows as they invest more
I hope so.
and their abatement rolls off. But
Jason's chuckling at me because I added an extra zero basically to the base, and so that was not good, was it, Jason? We had to recalculate.
We were negative at one time, so
Yes.
that 3,000 looks pretty good to me now compared to where it was.
Yeah, I was going, oh my gosh, I put the entire amount in instead of with the abatement, never mind. Yeah, so I'm chuckling.
So I know I went through that kind of quickly, but I'd be happy to
Good.
answer questions. Thank you.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
what you did.
Appreciate it.
Last thing we have here is consideration of minutes for May 13, 21 and August 11 of 21. Has everybody had a look and okay with the minutes of those two meetings? Any
No, I
thoughts?
haven't read them, but
Do what?
I haven't read them.
I think the one you'd be overly concerned about would be your small business grant one, and there was one motion on that meeting, and that was your August 11th meeting. I want to make sure Iva made that motion, and she's happy with that. On
Okay.
the August 11th one, on that one first, on the very last one. I want to make sure
Oh,
that
yeah,
reads like
yeah.
Iva wanted it, 'cause
Yeah.
she made it.
And by the way, we had exactly 39.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did. Hopefully Ochre is still reviewing those, by the way, board.
Well, I've had a couple phone calls. People thought they didn't get it, and I had to explain all that. to
They're
them.
still under review with Ochre.
Yes, sir. I
Melissa
think-
just told me that today.
I think it was like $7,100
Two of
and
these
something dollars this
39?
one got.
Huh.
2 of these 39 are under review.
All of the 39 are. 'Cause
Oh, okay.
all the 39 had to go to Ochre. She had to send all the applications up. And they're still looking at them.
And you
Did
might,
I make?
Good to you.
Mhm.
That was the main one.
you might explain what Ochre is for somebody who doesn't understand that.
It's
What
the
that-
Office of Community, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
Office of Community and Rural Affairs, and they're the awarding agency, and there were small business incentive grant funds available. And City of Scottsburg applied, and I think they were in their second or third round of awards, and then the county got on board, and the Redevelopment Commission allocated a little over $27,000 for grant match money, and it was able to bring in $277,778 to small businesses across the entire county. where the city of Scottsburg is limited to its lines of incorporation. So, that being said, we were, between the city of Scottsburg and the county, there's, you know, over 500,
Yeah,
$1,000 going to help small businesses due to impacts of COVID.
tell me if I'm wrong, is that not state money that's passed down to us?
Yes,
And we
it
award it?
is Okra, Office of Community and Rural Affairs, but I'm not for sure
I
if
think
they
it
get
came
federal
from the
funds.
federal.
Yeah,
So
I can
they-
look
So they run it
and see.
through the state, is that,
Yeah.
okay.
If there's a
Regardless, we
CFDA
was able to
number.
help 39 businesses,
Right.
split up $277,000.
And it was, if they, the recommendation that I'm talking about, regarding what Iva made the motion for, this board passed, was that all 39 applicants that were complete and successful as far as this board was concerned, it was recommended to the Board of Commissioners at a meeting following that day, on that same day. And they agreed that it would be distributed, the 277 plus would be distributed equally among the 39 successful candidates on the county level. Okra is still reviewing all those applications. If it meets Okra criteria, then there'll be 39 businesses helped with over $7,000 apiece in the
Yeah.
county.
And it's just like everything else, it had to be COVID related. They had to show they had a loss in the last year, from COVID. And a lot of people did, so, and that's how we figured out who got the grants. They had to meet the requirements. So, and it could be next year too. We don't know where that's going.
No, for sure.
Okay, but it run through us is basically what it did. And we helped several communities out, so.
Motion to approve May and August minutes.
Iva makes a motion to approve the minutes from May 13th and August 11th.
One of these copies, or?
Any second?
Scott will second it, and I'll make that unanimous. Minutes are passed unanimously amongst the members here.
When can we have another meeting quickly to?
Yeah, I will
After we
advertise,
advertise.
and I'll give you guys an email, because I'll have to
Okay.
get the appropriate additional together, and it would be published. I have to have them by noon on Friday to get them in the next Wednesday's paper, and then it's at least 10 days, calendar days, not business days, but at least 10 calendar days after it appears in the paper the first time.
Okay.
So I'll let you guys know. I'll try to get all this together, and then if I can, I'll try to do it Friday, so it'll be in next Wednesday's paper. And I may have to have that done tomorrow, because we got Labor Day in there.
Yeah.
Might be Thursday.
Either one of you two got anything you'd like to bring up or mention before we adjourn? I'll ask the same thing to the audience. Anything they'd like to say before we adjourn the meeting? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Redevelopment Commission.
Coffee and
Iva,
hold on a minute.
You tell me when you can't be
Do we
here.
make a motion?
I can't be here first.
I make a motion to
Scott
adjourn.
thank you. Scott makes a motion to adjourn. Hey, Iva.
I can't be here for October the 9th through the 15th. I cannot be here. I'll be in Chicago.
Okay.
I'll
Motion to
second
adjourn.
that
Okay.
motion. Sorry.
Motion passes, the meeting will be adjourned. Thank you.
I didn't want to have to do a telephone meeting.